This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. All right, tonight looking at waiting, Abraham and Isaac. There we go. Okay. So this evening we're going to get through some definitions, have a look at times or types, go through around perception around waiting, but have a small little activity to hopefully bring out a point that we're trying to make. Then look at around the life of Abraham, around the life of Isaac. What else got? We've got some differences. Then what about us? Then some consequences, and then hopefully a take-home message. All right. So first of all, what does I guess the word wait mean? I guess it has lots of different definitions because it's like a noun, something else noun, like 10 different types of nouns. I didn't really know that there were that many. And because it's been used in so many different ways, for example, you can wait your turn. You can look forward expectantly to like wait for your rival to lose. You could look back expectantly waiting for like a chance to strike. You could have someone waiting for us, or an object could be waiting for you. For example, like the slippers could be waiting by your bed, or the chores can wait. And you can use it as like a pause in a sentence, like, wait, what did you say? Something like that. I guess the definition that I grabbed was this one: the action of staying where one is or delaying action until a particular time or event. I guess the main point of this one was that it's an action. And so I guess we'll talk about this as we go through the night. And I guess the question is are we active or passive in our waiting? And so we'll move on to this one. So I put it down to kind of times or types of waiting. I guess these are all different times that we might wait in a day. And I guess it's different for everyone because obviously we do different things. So for example, we might be waiting for the final whistle to go if we're watching a game. We might be waiting for probably Charles to reply. We're probably waiting at the doctor's for your appointment. Maybe we're just waiting for a good night's rest because we're busy. Maybe we're waiting for a holiday because we're stressed out and want to have some relaxing time. Maybe we're just waiting for the green light to go. Maybe we're waiting for some food and we're stuck. Or maybe we're waiting for someone to come pick us up, or or to go somewhere. And so, I guess it's all different in terms of what we do, depending on lots of different things in terms of what you do in your life. And I guess, are these times we wait, or these types of waiting, or I guess waiting is all the same in terms of what it is? It's just different things that we wait for, if that kind of makes sense. And so I guess looking through all this, I found it quite, interesting at how much waiting is perceived by different things. So I found that waiting and emotions are very closely linked. And so here we go, first question for audience. If we were to think of waiting, what would you think would be the 3 most common emotions?
Me, impatience.
Yep. Any other? Anxiety. Boredom. Right. Anger. Yeah.
Anticipation.
Frustration. Anticipation. Yeah. Well, I guess the 3 I got were anxiety/uncertainty, anger or annoyance and regret. But yeah, impatience is pretty much a good one, but that's pretty linked into that. And so I guess it just shows how negatively kind of perceived waiting is. And I guess we're trying to figure out why is waiting so negative maybe in our day, and has it always been like that? I guess even just typing into Google Images like waiting, they're all just like very depressing images, which was just a side note. And so what is the emotion part that we're experiencing? Is the emotion towards the actual waiting, or is it towards like the outcome? And so I guess in different scenarios, it might be different. For example, here we go. If we get a text from New Zealand Lotto saying that we need to call you, we might be thinking, sweet, like let's hurry up and message me quickly, get my friends around, talk to them about it. And I guess the difference between that and if we get a text from the police saying we need to call you, we might be like, oh no, I hope they don't message me, and let's not tell anyone. So I guess the waiting is the same, but depending on the scenario and what the outcome is, it's interesting that I guess we have different emotions towards the different ones. And so I came up with a great wise quote by myself, which goes like this: waiting, let's put it up. Waiting isn't the issue, but the situation we may put ourselves in makes the waiting seem like the issue. So that's my deep quote for you guys tonight. That's what I meant. Quoted then.
It's an old Chinese proverb.
It is. Yeah. Right there. All right.
Excuse me, Ashley, how does that apply to me waiting in the turn right? I know 3 cars will go through and the one at the front's got his head in his phone and he doesn't go. How does it work with that?
Yeah, well, I guess you gotta put yourselves into that one.
My impatience is the issue.
Yeah. I guess so, yeah. That's what we're about to get onto, because in this example, this is a scenario, here we go. If you're driving to someone's house, maybe for dinner or a birthday party or something like that, and if you get every single red light along the way, does it change on your scenario in terms of if you're running late versus you're on time? So at least if you're running late, then you get maybe more of the anger and annoyance, regret that you're running late. If you're on time, maybe then you don't feel any of those emotions. What if we're hungry? If we're not hungry, you're really keen for a good food. Maybe we ready to bust and go to the toilet, and then we get all the red lights from the start. So I guess it's just showing, yeah, how it's different scenarios can create different emotions when we are waiting through that. And so I guess the waiting the waiting is kind of the same, but more just changes depending on the outcome or what we are waiting for. But there's lots of different variables that can be introduced into it. So yeah, I want you to Tony. So I want you to think about something you've waited for today, or a few things, and then link an emotion to what it was. So for example, well, what's an example? I'm going to write it up. So I want you to tell me what something you waited for like today. So it might be the red light, and then tell me were you angry / annoyed? Or you didn't have any thoughts, for example, like about filling up the jug and waiting for it to boil? You might not have any thoughts because, yeah, but if you're running late, you might. Or were you happy, for example? So are there any examples? What's something you had to wait for today? Anyone?
Waiting for a tradesman to turn up.
Yeah, waiting for someone to turn up. And what are we, what emotion were you feeling?
Well, I had other things to do and I had to wait for him to turn up. I couldn't do the other things I wanted to do until he turned up. So it was
Annoyance? Anger / annoyance? What out of those three?
yeah, I would say frustration.
Yeah, a red one for this. The red one. All right, anyone else?
The front terminal at work was taking my bread.
Waiting for the printer, yeah.
And it's easy way for me.
And what emotion are we going?
The weight train.
Enjoyable.
What was it? Fear, like FOMO.
There's annoyed as well. What do you want to do?
Doing something more productive.
Yeah.
Waiting for the car to stop doing research on me. Tyler read it through.
Okay. I don't know what to write down for that. So how are you feeling? What
I was feeling like a little bit of eagerness, but then like also a little bit of anxiety.
That's two, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else got any examples?
Waiting for Jonathan to get home.
Yeah. And what emotion was that? Was it regret or? Joy, such eagerness, yeah. Oh, great. Let's go for two more, if we have any more. I've got one online. Ron said, he went fishing. I went fishing and waiting for them to bite can be so frustrating. I'll just fix your grammar. Only trumped by losing the fish when they do finally bite. So Ron went fishing and he was frustrated. Yeah.
I waited for today.
Tell you what,
I waited for today.
you waited for today.
And
Okay.
it will be evenings.
Ooh, why? What's in today?
Lots of.
My class. All right. Okay. I'll do the one. Right. I'll leave it there because, yeah. I guess it's kind of pretty much right, ish. All right, this was my day when I did the activity. Oh, my battery came out. All right, here we go. This is a day, and this was my day, Monday, 2 weeks ago. All right, we're going to go top left to right, bottom there. So, and yeah, so I opened my football app, check the scores, and that was my green one because I was hoping that a result happened. I was waiting for the tap to get warm. I was waiting for someone to get out the bathroom. I was waiting for my car to unlock, waiting for some traffic lights and giveaway signs, lots. Waiting for my computer to turn on, waiting to log in. I was waiting for my plastic stuff to heat up at work. Then I was waiting for my milk to froth, for my coffee, which took a while. Then I had to microwave my lunch. Then someone didn't turn up, so I had to wait for them. Then I was getting changed in my car, so I had to wait for someone to walk past to make it less awkward. What else did I have? Oh, then I went to my hip follow-up stuff. Then I waited for him to tell me good or bad news. Then I waited to connect my phone to my Bluetooth to listen to a podcast on the way home. Then I had a cup of tea when I got home to wait for the kettle. Then I waited for someone to get home to make some dinner. Then I was waiting for actually Ronald to reply this time. Maybe it's a chin-nibbly thing. So I guess from my list, I was quite surprised by how I only had 2 green ones on there, and the rest, most of them were either neutral / quite negative. Yeah. So I was interested to know, like, did I have a bad day, or I did do it again on another Monday. It was a less eventful Monday, but some of them were mostly the same, and I guess it was all the same. So it was interesting to, yeah, kind of see that it was, I guess that would deceive it all to be so negative around that. And also, that's right, I was thinking around, what do you guys think that Abraham did in his spare time and things that he waited for? It's an open-ended question. I've asked a few people in this room already.
Is that spare time outside of looking after his sheep or?
Well, no, that's something, yeah. So obviously did that quite a bit. So he's waiting for them to probably, I don't know.
Wait for some.
Have plans?
Yeah, do that. Yeah, that's the big one, which we'll get into.
Spend a very long time waiting for a child.
Yep, correct. Maybe outside of the things that we already know, like, what did I go? He was waiting for, we had to teach all his men to fight, so maybe he had to train them up, so he's waiting for them to get good. Obviously he won, so he must have done a lot of work with them. He was waiting for, he's probably like he's like the top dog of like the whole area, so he's ready to get lots of, I don't know, scout reports where the nice land is, situations around animals, all that sort of thing. But yeah, it was kind of interesting though, yeah, actually be thinking what he actually did for all this time. And we can see that. So we'll go into Abraham's life a little bit. So I guess we know most of his main story. Oh, there we go, that's my one, training his army from the Roach family. And I guess do we know how long he exactly waited? Do we? And well, how long do we think? For his son, sorry, for his child, which is obviously is the main story around his waiting. How many?
At least 30.
30, we got 30.
It was 25.
We got a 25. Is the main general one?
25 for life.
Yeah, we're talking about, sorry, yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so everywhere, obviously, yeah. Every sort of website says 25. And so, yeah, I guess I'm trying to, we'll try to work it out. So, and Call of Abraham in Genesis 12 is 1 to 4. We have, here we go, here it is here. Now the Lord said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee, and I'll make of thee a great nation, and I'll bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. I'll bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So let's put our hands up. Who thinks that what I just read indicates a promised son?
Sorry, what was the question?
Like, does that indicate a promised son?
Yes.
Which bit of it do we think? Out of curiosity? Okay, yeah. Yep.
Through your family, all the earth will be blessed. Family? What family?
Mm-hmm. Yes, agreed. Yeah, well, I was first looking at, I guess you could say that it doesn't indicate, I guess he could become a great nation, not necessarily through his family. I guess, that sounds bad, because it's a family. He could just be the ruler of a nation and still become a great nation. It doesn't necessarily have to be through his personal son. And also, I guess, with the family, you can add other children through that. So
It does say about his descendants.
yep.
Because he's told quite clearly about how his descendants will multiply.
Yep, I agree. So yeah, it's more just figuring out, well, is he waiting? I guess the two things, he either waited at least 13 years, or maybe he waited 25 years. It was mostly the general consensus. And so I guess when we see later on, the next time he talks to God, big thing, he says this, the next the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, fear not, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this user of Damascus? And Abram said, behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, this shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, look now toward heaven and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And so I guess around this, do we think from this verse that Abraham knew about his already promised son? I guess he's saying that, I think he does, because he says, oh, I'm not, like God says, I'm going to your true reward. And he says, well, I'm not really feeling very rewarded because I don't know none of my own children. I currently got this guy, Eliezer. And then God says, well, you're going to have your own heir out of your own bowels. And then it says, look toward heaven, and this will be like your seed. And it kind of almost seems to me that he might be questioning why he still doesn't have any offspring. But so that might indicate that he already knew. It does say in Romans 9, verse 9, it says, for this is what the promise declared, about a year from now I will return and Sarah will have a son. And so this is not in the initial promises. It's referring to Genesis 17:21, when it says, I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at the set time next year. So yeah, I'm still not too sure if he did know at the initial time or not. But it doesn't matter too much, it's just around how long he actually waited and through that. But I'm happy to, have some yarns about that afterwards. And so I guess moving on, these are the next things that happened in his lives. He separated from Lot, he settled in the land of Canaan, he moved to Hebron, he defeated the king, trained men, and then he said, well, you haven't given me a descendant, and then God said, the seed will be from your own bowels. And then I guess Sarah takes over, and then eventually Abraham married Hagar and gives birth to Ishmael. And so I guess there was no mention of who the partner of Hill had to be in the first place. And so maybe like Sarah and Abraham, I guess, were discussing what to do. They've been waiting, at least in there between, it's a 10-year gap from where he was called and until where Sarah decided to take things into her own hands. I guess we understand their frustration when I guess the whole be fruitful and multiply thing. And so they must have probably undenied about it. And then I guess Sarah's like, I pray that you go in unto my handmaid. And so eventually, I guess it says that Abraham hearkened to Sarah. So not sure if Abraham was too keen on this idea, but yeah, I guess he finally gave up to maybe, or at least tried it out. And it's interesting the wording that Sarah uses. It says, the Lord hath restrained me. So I guess she knew that there was possible, but something was like holding her back. It almost seems like a physical restraint. And I guess we find out that it was through her lack of faith. So I thought it was funny, these things here as well. So we have 16 to 16, and it says, very helpful that they tell us this, because otherwise we wouldn't know how old he is, or obviously or different times. And then we have the very next verse in the next chapter, which is boom, there's a big 13-year gap just in like one verse like that, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, so I can see just doing this thing, 13 years, and just obviously trying to, I guess, building their faith through that whole 13-year period, because eventually in 17 verse 16, I guess we read that Abraham was, there we go, he promised done with Sarah. We had some Sodom drama. Eventually, Sarah gives birth to Isaac, and that's when Sarah dies, I guess, or wait for resurrection, and that's when Abraham dies. So this is Abraham's ages, this is Sarah's ages, and this is Ishmael's ages, according to me. Which I think my math is all right, but we'll figure it out. And so in Hebrews 11, we read, through faith, Sarah received strength to conceive seed and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. So the faith that Sarah had, it was actually the thing that gave her the strength to have a child. And so I guess that was what was holding her back beforehand. And I guess what we can learn from that is that he's going to be seen to be waiting maybe for ages for something, or maybe God's waiting for us to do something in the first place. And so I guess why did God or why were they waiting so long? I guess God was wanting them to build their faith more, and if that didn't happen, I guess they wouldn't have seen the full extent of what God's power can do. And yeah, do I have that? Oh, right there. Hebrews 6. Yeah, it all talks about Abraham, because there's no mention of Sarah there waiting. So obviously she waited probably just about the same amount of time. So you'll have a shout out to Sarah there as well. Just add her in that verse maybe. And through there, they all just talk about Abraham waiting and all through that. I thought this very granny quote was cool. To us, waiting is wasting, but to God, waiting is working. So I feel that's quite, in our busy lives, it's quite relevant through that. All right, let's just move on to Isaac. So with Isaac here, we have a general, what should we do? All right, let's have a general rundown of his life. These are the ages of Abraham. And through here, so we had Isaac was born. Let's take my story. Obviously, we don't technically know his age. We do know he was weaned, so they had a party for it, and that he obviously knew about burnt offerings in terms of in the story itself. So that's just, yeah, I think most people think he was some type of teenager. This got 18.
He carried sticks.
So what?
He carried sticks.
He could carry sticks, correct? So I think at 18 you can carry a stick, so we'll do that. So yeah, all the other ones make it nice. This is Sarah, his matchmaking question mark, his marriage, he was 40, and then Rebecca gave birth when he was 60, and then he died at 180. And through that, what is this? Yeah. Similar to the other one, we have Genesis 25 to 21. We have this verse, one verse. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebecca became pregnant. Yes, the crazy thing was, within that verse is a 20-year gap. So that's interesting, I guess, because Mary here, this is when it happened. He was praying, this is the next verse, and then in the same verse comes, well, yeah, became pregnant, so these three here. So it's kind of crazy. In one verse, we had, two between verses. Last time we had a 13-year gap, and this verse, we have a 20-year gap just in that one verse.
Where did you get the 20?
Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
So it says that Isaac was 60 when Jacob gave birth, Rebecca gave birth.
Okay.
Yeah. And it also says he was married at 40. And I don't know. I don't have the verse, sorry, the exact verse, sorry. 24 verse 3/4 maybe. And so again, obviously they were waiting for a child, similar to parents. And I guess we can say, well, quick answered prayer, but you might read it quickly answered prayer, but you also might not realize there's 20-year gap in there, so maybe not so quick. Or maybe that is still quick. It just depends on how you will life through that. Cool. And I guess we wonder, do we think that Abraham and Sarah told Isaac about their waiting for him? Because it seems like, I guess, yeah, I guess Isaac probably would have known that they were waiting for him for so long, and so he's now going through the same experience. You'd think that maybe he was able to wait, maybe like better, or also knew about it. I guess it's maybe something we don't think about too much. I'm sure they would have told him about it, and so all we know is that he just prayed to God for it. And I guess we don't know if he, like, how often he prayed, or if he had doubts within the 20 years or anything like that, and through that. But yes, and another cool quote found. It says that God is making you wait, then be prepared to receive more than what you asked for. And so I guess similarly, she got twins. So more than what you asked for, I guess. Not sure it's a good or bad thing, who knows. And yeah, the list is obviously 2 children, Jacob and Esau. Right, so next, I was gonna have a little chat around what do we think differences, or what differences are there in waiting in terms of today and like them waiting back then, and then maybe what some similarities. So I've blocked up my answers.
We have phones.
We have phones, yep. Good.
Minimized wait.
Minimized wait time, yep. So more efficiency.
We know a lot more detail of the future.
Yeah, knowledge.
Yeah, ETAs.
ETAs.
Sorry?
Estimated times of arrival.
Good distractions.
Distractions, yep. Is that a good or bad thing? Bad?
They
Yeah.
have longer attention spans, I reckon.
We do, they do.
They
They do, yeah.
We have more things.
More things to do? Maybe, yeah.
Who?
Yeah,
We do.
we do.
More
Yeah.
variety.
What about similarities? Do you think of any similarities?
You're both human.
I understand one, damn it. Yep,
The challenge to your faith.
trust faith.
That's the thing.
The thing is that when God made the promises, he didn't say when. And the promises be made to us as well, and we don't know when either.
Yep.
Therefore, I think there's a similarity. And that seems to me, thinking about it, characterises our waiting, the type of waiting that we do. We don't know the when, we just know the what.
Yep,
We don't know the when.
cool.
Going back to differences, they lived way longer than us, so we could crank in a shorter period of time. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, you so?
Because we didn't think about cramming stuff in until the last 20 years. Before that, we didn't. Life was much more.
Yep, okay. What did I get? I think that's, I think that's some more things, we got distractions. Yeah, instant things we used to, we had knowledge. All right, how do I explain these? I'll bring them down. Maybe back then they're more unsure in terms of like how their life would go, where they were going. Obviously they're just going around the land. Maybe more dangerous back then in terms of being in random people's lands and lots of, I guess it depends where you live, I guess, in the world. But then I always got peaceful because I didn't write it down. What was I thinking of that?
Only 5G.
Does that make it unpeaceful? What was I thinking of that? I think it's more like they were maybe sort of like constantly just living within them, like in their group, and so they had a good sort of environment around them maybe.
When you're waiting for a long time, you can't like go on a device or like just go and talk to other people. You think you like get calmer. You think you just think more in people.
Yeah, we're gonna go into that soon. Yeah, it's interesting when you look at those sort of harmony networks. Okay, similarities, we have no choice, I guess, mainly. If you're waiting for the same sort of, or obviously waiting for the same thing in terms of Christ to return, all that sort of thing. I guess you might have similar things. Also, if you're both waiting through faith, and sort of like what Jackie said, both like precious from outside or that sort of thing. What else right here? Yeah, that's all for that. And so, do we think next question, is waiting easier today or harder, or the same? All right, so let's go harder. Hands up. Waiting's harder today. We got 3. Oh, all right. We'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. Sorry, what? Yeah, true. From this extensive list, though.
We do all the waiting, like somebody said, we've got a lot more things, a lot more stuff to do. So we're waiting in much tinier amounts. Lots and lots of small amounts of waiting, whereas, the people who lived off the land, like a lot of them did, they had to wait a year for their crop to come in. We wait a week to get paid, whatever it might be. And so it's quantity.
Yeah.
The amount of waiting we do is broken up into.
So it's a short little burst rather than one long sort of ball. Right. Where do I start with this? Okay, so
You don't finish your voting.
I got easier. Who thinks
Oh,
it's easier today? There you go. What? And what about the same? Who thinks it's the same? Oh, definitely the same. Okay. Yeah, no way. I wasn't even gonna ask if it's the same. I didn't think that was an option, but anyway. Yep.
It's all relative to.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's the point around it. It all depends on what we do and what we stages of life and things like that. I guess in terms of, I'm just gonna go through these, or some of these hopefully quickly. I guess, we talk about, obviously we have lots of distractions these days. Work, study, family, friends, technology, that's just the same sum. And I guess it's just, yeah, do these make it easier or does it make it harder to wait? Because I guess it could make it harder because there's more things to do, or make it easier because I guess there's more things to keep with distractions, which means you don't have to seem like we're waiting as long. Yeah, I guess I read an interesting article called "Why Getting Better at Waiting Could Improve Your Life," and so they summarized around, I guess, how boredom and daydreaming activate a different part in your brain to like come up with new ideas and that sort of thing, which is why you kind of maybe just driving or in your shower or something when you're not really switched on. At least hopefully you're after driving, but at the lights maybe. We might come up with a random idea. And so I guess they were saying that maybe, and then I guess today we're just so constantly like deadline that we're not letting our brains think enough in terms of being productive. And so I guess it was more saying around how we need to take breathers from our busy lives and to like give our brain like rest so that we can actually see like the power of it. And I guess the next question was like, do we want to be distracted from what we're waiting for? I guess we should always be looking forward to Christ's return, and so maybe we shouldn't be distracted so easily if we can help it, and then always like having that in mind. I guess we've all heard the saying, time flies when you're having fun. Yeah. Apparently that's right. There's lots of research have found that. I guess apparently it goes quicker if it's more unexpected. So if you're coming to class tonight and you're like, yeah, it might be meh, but then it's a great time, then it will fly even quicker, for example. And I guess it's all around like dopamine. I'm sure we've all heard of that word before, some chemicals. And so, how do I explain this easily? Let's just try to read what I said. So pretty much the more dopamine you have, it speeds up our brain's perception of time. And so our brain just pretty much thinks we're running like frantically over time, and it's overestimating how much time has passed, giving it the illusion that time's actually going faster. So pretty much being taught to live in like 2 times speed, which is ironically how I watch all my videos and podcasts. I watch them 2 times speed, but that's just because then I can get more time to do things later. So that's my theory anyway. And so I guess linked to distractions is, I guess, it's how easy it is to be distracted with lots of instant things. Obviously, I don't know, online shopping, same day pickup, that sort of stuff, and access to anything that we really want, like within seconds or minutes. And I guess it just doesn't breed a society where waiting is acceptable. So maybe that's why, yeah, society these days aren't used to waiting. And so it's kind of breeding a whole new society that waiting isn't acceptable, where I guess maybe we should think about what we're waiting for specifically.
Actually,
yep.
Babies still take 9 months.
True. Or 10, yeah, okay. Yeah, I actually hadn't thought about that.
Nobody sped that one up though.
No, I can't remember what I was thinking about that. The other one, because they lived longer back then, do you think it took longer or shorter? I don't know, I'd just say, yeah, because it does say a year. I was wondering maybe it was 12 months back then. That's just a random thought. I guess it might not be so specific, 9 months, but anyway. Yeah, but I guess it's only in this article talked about only in some societies where it's waiting is bad. And of course, we all probably all know which country is good, probably Japan. We can talk to Jonathan about it. Apparently their waiting is like viewed as a contribution to society, which is a good thing, I guess. I guess you can compare that to like, we always see those videos on like Black Friday in America, we're just like rushing through the doors. Whereas if that happened in Japan, probably it'd be like after you like line up, that sort of thing. So it's different, I guess, different societies. The point is that different societies have different ways of perception of waiting and everything. All right. Anyway, I guess. All right. Why is this relevant? This slide. Oh, I didn't even answer the slide. Boom. Distraction picture. All right. I guess we have internal almost fear of boredom, it almost seems. And so I guess we're trying to fill up our times to stop this. And I guess the opposite you would say of waiting is like productivity or productive time. And so I guess today when it's so like deadline driven and stuff, that's all that we can use. That's all that people focus on. And so I'll just quote this one from this article I read. Part of us fear that waiting is a reflection of the fact that maybe life is just about time passing. That is one of our deep fears, that waiting represents life in its essence, that life itself is about just having time pass and occupying ourselves in various ways as we watch the hours go by. And so I guess that kind of summed up, I guess, what the world around us sees. And so we have nothing to live for, no hope for, then I guess it's pretty understandable why we want to and why companies want to like trick ourselves by getting like constant dopamine hits to think time's going faster, so that we don't really need to think about like what actually is life about. And so I guess, yeah, just think about that if we're, I guess it's for us that we're just showing how that when we do have something to look forward to, then that's, I guess we can, yeah, share that for those people that might just be going around their life just wanting time to go by, just wanting time to go past, faster and faster, or just waiting for it to end. That sounds dodgy. I mean, all right. And so I guess it's more around how we act. Yes, we have less dopamine. Your brain thinks time is passing slowly. I guess it's not, it might not sound good when we're talking about waiting, but it's more around how we're waiting to like be more calm, relaxed, patient, or like on edge or frantic or panicky around that. And this last one was, do we know what this graph is? Anyone seen it before? What it represents? It's kind of like a knowledge graph. It just shows how much knowledge is doubled. And so I guess pretty much in 2022, they reckon our knowledge is doubled every like 12 hours compared to like that being where it was like doubling every century. It's very interesting like how much more knowledge we have these days, which is obviously due to all the technology and stuff. I couldn't find any up-to-date stuff for the really old thing. So I'm not sure if it actually is at 12 hours yet. I think we're at 2 days currently. That's the latest one I could find. I mean 2 years, but they're thinking, yeah, 12 hours into 2 hours eventually. And so I guess it just shows we've got so much more to filter out to keep, I guess, the good stuff in. So I personally thought maybe today was harder to wait, but that's what I thought. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, Barry definitely doesn't think that, so we'll get his reasons afterwards why it's the same. And I guess around that, how should we be waiting? So these are all these quotes I found that hopefully had something active in it. So first one, wait on the Lord, give me courage. So we should be waiting with courage. The next one was probably the only sad one I found. I guess I am weary of my crying, my throat is dried, my eyes fail while I wait for my God. So I guess I put down persistence. It's like keeping on going and through that. The next one we have lost one from the Psalms. I wait for the Lord, my soul does wait, and in his word do I hope. My soul waiteth for the Lord more than they that watch for the morning. I say more than they that watch for the morning. And so I guess putting it as a priority. So they were doing it more than the actual job, which I guess they were more people. This one down here, I guess, was about eagerly waiting. So it's eagerness. Sort of about like being still, and through that, it's not directly talking about waiting, but for that. I thought this translation was it Young Cultural, I think, about, I guess, instead of, I used to often say like who asks seeks knocks, but I guess it was like constantly, so you're constantly asking, seeking, and asking, seeking, and knocking. So constantly searching. The next one I put down for trust. Is when I sit down, I said, Lord shall be a light unto me who is waiting for God. I got seeking for the next one. Yeah, through there. It says, on me do I wait all the day? So I guess it's no stopping, doing it all the time. The next one was waiting in faith. Wait in faith from Isaiah. And then the last one was Psalms again. It talks about, I guess, wait patiently, fret not, cease from anger. They should fear into the earth. So I talked about being at peace and in patience. So I didn't want to go through all the wait verses, because I think there's like probably 10 other talks on waiting, so they can take some of the verses. So I just tried to find something that hopefully kind of had a link to like doing something, being active, linking back to like the definition of it. And so I made this really easy acronym, IPTSC, oops, or something like that. So we need to identify. So what are you waiting for? Like, what are you waiting on God for? And through that, and maybe you can even write it out. Like, think about what are we actually waiting for. We can pray about it. Then ask God to provide our needs and trust that. And then I guess constantly asking, seeking, knocking, and I guess persistence about pouring ourselves out to God. We need to have trust. So whether that waiting in faith, and that God will, I guess, complete His work in the life, and I guess being at peace in Him. We need to be searching. I guess be constantly looking for God's answers. I guess we might see them more often in hindsight, but I guess we need to look forward, eagerness and patience, and then celebrate. I guess when God answers your prayer, then thank Him for it and give Him praise. I guess even if it's not in a way that you expected, you might realise it later on, and through that. All right. Yeah. So what happens if we don't wait? It's just, oh, my battery's running low. Oh dear, this is about. I was actually going to plug for that. There we go. It might cut off any second. Sorry, online. So what happens? What happens if we don't wait? I guess the example was around Sarah in terms of taking matters maybe into our own hands a little bit. I guess it showed, they had a bit of drama with Hagar and Ishmael, I guess being sent away by Abraham. If you do know that Abraham or Ishmael was still blessed though, and became the father of the 12 princes it talks about, I think in Isaiah, how they will one day actually still be blessed when they come to Christ as well, which was in there. And so so when we don't wait, we can miss God's provision. Instead, we might settle for the here and now, or might take over for God, maybe in arrogance that we think we can do it on our own. You can link this to Ecclesiastes 3 there. God has made everything fit beautifully in its appropriate time, but He has also placed ignorance in the human heart so that people cannot discover what God ordained from the beginning to the end of their lives. We also miss the opportunity to develop patience. Haven't talked about patience too much, is probably the biggest thing, but I think some other people also be learning about it then. And the only way to develop patience was through practice. Glory and tribulation, it's also known tribulation with patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. And then we might miss experiencing peace. Because when we get anxious and worry that God's maybe not moving fast enough, we might lose trust in Him and miss out on the peace that He gives us. I think that's a cool verse in Isaiah. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in You. And so, because I take home message, I guess hopefully we've seen around emotions, talked a little bit about Abraham and Isaac, and I guess the take home message is about, I guess, see how blessed we are and that we actually have something to wait for, and then we're not just like wasting our time doing nothing, which I guess has always been, people's biggest question around life, about what's the purpose of it and everything. And so I guess hopefully we can maybe view waiting, obviously, well, hopefully more positively maybe in the long run, and something that we can look forward to, I guess, as being the same thing that Abraham and Isaac look forward to as well. And then, well, maybe we could talk with them about actually what they did get up to back in all those years. And I thought they'd be interested in New Zealand sheep farming. That's a good topic we could go. Or maybe Google Maps, and they could be interested in those sort of things. And then I guess little thought we can finish on. Yes. Are you waiting on God, or is He waiting on you? And then, is your waiting connected to what He's doing in someone else's life? And then, are you responding with a faithful spirit or a fighting one? And so maybe it sums it up that if we find that we're constantly waiting on God, or maybe He's actually waiting on us to change something, and maybe that's because we're waiting passively and not actively. And so I guess let's try and actively wait for that amazing time to come in the future. And I guess we'll inherit those promises like made to Abraham and Isaac all those years ago. Let's turn to that. May the Lord direct your hearts into the love of God and into the patient waiting for Christ. Yeah, that's been done. Any questions or comments around that? Or shall we close in prayer first? Oh, no, okay. Any comments or questions?
I think we've come to live in a world where we're conditioned to don't wait.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be now. Yeah, you remember what it was like 20 years ago to turn the computer on. You went away and had breakfast, and when you came back, it was probably ready.
He's too young for that.
Now, it's, you know.
Yeah, it's even worse than
not
it happens now.
in a second. So we've got to wait whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
And I think patience is a really big thing, because we look at how patient God is with us, waiting for us to do what He wants.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the whole message of patience is all about, you know, being prepared to sit back and let things work out without having to force the issue. So that's a big thing. But whether we like it or not, we've got to wait for things. So I think, you know, if we don't use that time to develop an attitude towards waiting, we will never be satisfied.
Yeah, I think I was going to put it on, took it out, would be good. I think waiting is waiting is the action, patience is the attitude. I think that was a little quote I found, which yeah, sums up that.
Well, that's kind of interesting, because usually we wait by doing other things as well. And when I really like a virtual school a couple of days ago, and so she doesn't eat the word of idleness. So I don't know what that means in terms of waiting for something, because in my household, if you're waiting for something, you might as well be folding washing while you're doing whatever. And like that to me is like not being idle, but it's also waiting in the same sense. And I don't think it's that good.
But if you have this thought, why do I have to wait for whatever it is I'm waiting for? Oh, I suppose I better do this one. You know, you sort of got this angry, unhealthy attitude towards waiting. But then you see, oh, okay, right, well, that's going to be 5 minutes. I might as well do something in the meantime. It's a whole, you're doing the same thing, but it's a whole different attitude.
Can I suggest
Yeah.
that Abraham and Isaac were waiting exactly the same for that?
Yep.
Except Abraham probably thought Isaac was the Messiah, because they've been waiting nearly 2,000 years for the promise to Adam and Eve to come to fruition by the time of Abraham and Isaac. And this boy is got this very specific promise. You know, we know how it worked because we're looking back, but they didn't. So how did they bring him up so that he would be suitable to be the redeemer of everybody? And did Isaac do the same with Jacob and Esau?
Yes,
How vibrant was that expectancy in them for what God had told them was going to happen?
I've got a little comment about this waiting. I think it depends. If you think you regard your time as your friend, then your waiting is not really waiting. But you think your time is your enemy, then you become angry, anxious, and all the negative attitude. So that's my personal comment.
Wait, for lots of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets pretty, when you think about, more around, just more around your attitude to it and rather than actually, because everyone obviously, as they were saying, everyone has to wait and it's all the same, but your attitude to it is what makes it a bad or a good thing.
You know, isn't it part of being, if you like, waiting in faith? I mean, every generation from Adam through Abraham, Isaac, have all had to wait, and we have to wait. And it seems like God is teaching us to wait. It's a very good verse to actually think about it, because what he's saying is that direct your hearts into the patient waiting for Christ. And so therefore every generation has had to do their waiting. And I know there was someone that said to me just quite recently, I mean, if we didn't have to wait, we would probably leave whatever we were waiting for and then just cram everything into the last little bit until like for example, if we knew the date that Christ was returning, we'd probably do all sorts of things and not worry about it. And then hang on